Ryan Bennett never thought he would question his wife's loyalty. For nearly 8 years, he and Ashley had built a life that seemed perfect from the outside. A charming house in the suburbs, 2 young children, and a love story that began in college. But in recent months, something had changed. Ashley, once warm and affectionate, had become distant. She often claimed she needed time to herself, taking late-night drives or disappearing for hours on the weekends. At first, Ryan tried to brush off his suspicions. Ashley had always been independent, and he didn't want to come across as controlling. But the gnawing feeling that something was wrong refused to leave him. One evening, after putting their children, Mia and Ben, to bed, Ryan decided to address the growing tension. "Ash," he began as she scrolled through her phone on the couch, "is everything okay between us?" Ashley looked up, startled. "Of course. Why would you ask that?" Ryan hesitated, searching her face for any sign of deceit. "You've just seemed different lately. Distant." Ashley forced a laugh. "I'm fine, Ryan. Work's been stressful, that's all." Her answer felt rehearsed, but Ryan didn't press further. He nodded, though his unease lingered. The first clue. The next day, Ryan left work early, hoping to surprise Ashley with a spontaneous lunch date. But as he pulled into their driveway, he noticed an unfamiliar car parked outside the house. His chest tightened as he approached the door. Inside, he heard muffled voices and laughter. Ryan stepped into the living room, his heart pounding. Ashley and a man he didn't recognize were seated on the couch, leaning in close as they looked at something on Ashley's phone. "Ryan," Ashley exclaimed, jumping to her feet. "What are you doing home?" Ryan's gaze shifted to the man, who stood awkwardly. "Who's this?" Ashley hesitated for a split second before answering. "This is Trevor. He's a client from work. We were just going over some design ideas." Trevor extended his hand, but Ryan ignored it. "Right," he said tersely. "I didn't realize client meetings happened in our living room." Trevor glanced at Ashley, then back at Ryan. "I should get going," he said, grabbing his jacket. As Trevor left, Ryan turned to Ashley. "What the hell was that?" Ashley crossed her arms defensively. "You're overreacting, Ryan. He's just a client." But Ryan's instincts told him otherwise. The descent into doubt. Over the following weeks, Ryan couldn't shake the feeling that Ashley was hiding something. He began noticing little things. The way she quickly put her phone away when he entered the room, the sudden increase in her work commitments, and the occasional scent of cologne that wasn't his. One evening, after Ashley went to bed, Ryan decided to check her phone. His hands shook as he scrolled through her messages. Most conversations were mundane, but then he found a thread with Trevor. "Trevor, can't wait to see you again." "Ashley, me too. Last night was amazing." Ryan's blood ran cold. He stared at the screen, his heart pounding as rage and heartbreak collided within him. The revelation. Ryan sat on the edge of the bed, the incriminating messages still glowing on Ashley's phone. His mind raced as he tried to process the betrayal staring back at him. He felt a surge of anger so fierce it left his hands trembling. Ashley stirred in her sleep, and Ryan quickly placed the phone back on the nightstand. He needed to keep his emotions in check, to figure out his next move before confronting her. The following day, Ryan decided to follow Ashley. When she told him she was going to a late client meeting, he nodded, feigning indifference. But as soon as she left, he grabbed his keys and followed her car from a distance. His heart pounded as she pulled into a small boutique hotel parking lot. Ashley exited her car, checking her phone before walking toward the entrance. Moments later, Trevor appeared from another vehicle, meeting her with a warm smile and a quick embrace. Ryan parked his car across the street, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. He watched as they disappeared into the hotel together, his chest tightening with a mix of rage and heartbreak. That evening, Ashley returned home as if nothing had happened. Ryan, however, was done pretending. "Did you have a good meeting?" he asked as she stepped into the kitchen. Ashley hesitated for a fraction of a second before nodding. "It went well. Why do you ask?" Ryan slammed his glass down on the counter, making her jump. "Because I followed you, Ashley. I saw you with him." Ashley's face drained of color. "Ryan, Don't," he snapped, his voice trembling with anger. "Don't lie to me." Don't insult me by pretending this is anything other than what it is. Tears welled in Ashley's eyes. It's not what you think. Stop, Ryan shouted, his voice echoing through the house. Don't you dare stand there and tell me this wasn't an affair. I saw you. I read the messages. Ashley broke down, sobbing. It was a mistake, she cried. I didn't mean for it to happen. Ryan laughed bitterly. A mistake? You don't accidentally end up at a hotel with another man, Ashley. I'm sorry, she whispered, falling to her knees. I'm so sorry. Ryan stared at her, his heart torn between love and fury. Sorry doesn't fix this, he said coldly. You've destroyed everything. The children's questions. The next morning, the tension in the house was palpable. Mia and Ben, too young to understand the full scope of what was happening, sensed that something was wrong. Why is Mommy crying? Mia asked Ryan at breakfast. Ryan forced a tight smile. Mommy's just not feeling well, sweetheart. Don't worry about it. But as Mia walked away, Ryan clenched his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. Ashley's actions hadn't just hurt him. They had disrupted the lives of their children. For the next few days, Ashley tried desperately to repair the damage. She sent Ryan long, tearful messages while he was at work, begging him to talk to her. She promised to cut Trevor out of her life completely and suggested they try marriage counseling. But Ryan wasn't ready to forgive or even listen. One night, as Ashley approached him in the living room, her voice trembling, Ryan held up his hand. Don't, he said sharply. There's nothing you can say that I want to hear. Ryan, please, she sobbed. I made a terrible mistake, but I love you. I love our family. Don't throw it all away. Ryan's laugh was cold. You're the one who threw it away, Ashley. You destroyed everything we built. Now, you get to live with the consequences. The plan takes shape. As the days turned into weeks, Ryan's anger only grew. Every time he looked at Ashley, he saw her betrayal. He couldn't erase the image of her with Trevor from his mind, and the pain consumed him. He began to think about revenge, not just confronting her, but making her feel the humiliation and heartbreak he had endured. Ryan stayed up late into the night, his mind racing with possibilities. He didn't want a simple apology or a promise to change. He wanted Ashley to suffer, to truly understand the depth of her betrayal. And he knew exactly how to make that happen. The trap is set. Ryan Bennett's anger had simmered long enough. Each passing day with Ashley under the same roof only fueled his desire to make her feel the pain she had caused him. She had begged, cried, and pleaded for forgiveness, but her words felt hollow. Her betrayal wasn't just a mistake. It was a deliberate choice, and Ryan was determined to make her face the consequences. Ryan started small. He pretended to accept Ashley's apologies, acting as though he was willing to work on their marriage. Maybe counseling is worth a shot, he told her one evening, feigning sincerity. Ashley's face lit up with hope. Really? You mean it? Ryan forced a smile. If we're going to fix this, we need to try. But his real goal wasn't reconciliation. It was manipulation. He began asking Ashley to share everything with him. Her phone, her location, her schedule. She complied without hesitation, eager to regain his trust. I want to believe you're being honest, Ryan said, studying her closely. But actions speak louder than words. Ashley nodded, her eyes glistening with tears. I'll do whatever it takes, Ryan. I promise. Testing her loyalty. Ryan devised small tests to measure Ashley's sincerity. He sent anonymous messages to her phone, pretending to be Trevor, asking to meet. When Ashley showed him the messages, visibly shaken, Ryan felt a twisted satisfaction. I haven't responded, Ashley said, handing him her phone. I don't want anything to do with him. Good, Ryan said coolly. He began tracking her movements using an app installed on her phone, monitoring her every move. Though she stayed within her boundaries, Ryan's trust remained shattered. Ryan's ultimate plan required a larger stage. He decided to host a dinner party, inviting their closest friends and family. The gathering would appear to be a step toward mending their relationship, but for Ryan, it was the perfect opportunity to expose Ashley's betrayal. Ashley hesitated when Ryan suggested the party. Are you sure we're ready for this? She asked. Ryan nodded. We can't hide forever, Ashley. People will start to notice something's wrong. She agreed, throwing herself into the preparations. She cleaned the house meticulously, planned an elaborate menu, and even bought a new dress for the occasion. Ryan watched her work with a mixture of cold detachment and grim satisfaction. She thinks this will save her, he thought. She has no idea what's coming. The night of the party, the house was filled with laughter and the clinking of glasses. Guests mingled in the living room, complimenting Ashley on her hosting skills. You and Ryan seem to be doing better, one of her friends said, smiling. Ashley nodded, forcing a smile. We're trying. Ryan played the part of the attentive husband, offering drinks and making small talk. But his mind was focused on the moment he had been waiting for. When dinner was served, Ryan stood at the head of the table, raising his glass for a toast. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight, he began, his tone warm. Ashley and I have been through a lot recently, and your support means the world to us. Ashley smiled nervously, her cheeks flushing as the guests clapped. But there's something I need to share, Ryan continued, his voice taking on a darker edge, something that's been weighing on me for weeks. Ashley's smile faded as she looked at him, her expression turning to confusion and then fear. Ryan pulled a small remote from his pocket and pressed a button. The television in the living room flickered to life, displaying a slideshow of incriminating screenshots. Ashley's messages with Trevor, photos of them together, and the time-stamped location data from the hotel. Gasps erupted around the table. Ryan, stop! Ashley cried, standing up, her face pale. Ryan turned to her, his expression cold. Why? Don't you think everyone deserves to know the truth? You weren't hiding it when you were sneaking around with Trevor. Ashley's parents sat in stunned silence, their faces a mix of shock and disappointment. Her friends exchanged awkward glances, some looking away entirely. This is what she did to me, Ryan said, addressing the room. This is the woman I thought I could trust. Ashley broke down, sobbing. Please, Ryan, stop this. Ryan set his glass down, his tone bitter. Why should I? You didn't care when you humiliated me. Now you'll know how it feels. The fallout. The party ended in chaos. Guests left one by one, some offering Ashley pitying glances, others avoiding her altogether. Her parents stayed behind, their disappointment evident. How could you do this, Ashley? Her father demanded. I made a mistake, Ashley sobbed. I wasn't thinking. That's an understatement, her mother said coldly. Ryan stood silently in the doorway, watching as Ashley's world crumbled around her. She turned to him, her face streaked with tears. Why would you do this to me? She whispered. Ryan's voice was low and icy. Because you deserve it. Shattered lives. The aftermath of the dinner party left Ashley emotionally devastated. The walls of the home she once felt secure and now felt oppressive. The betrayal, exposed in front of friends and family, had destroyed her carefully curated image. She spent the following days in silence, avoiding Ryan as much as possible. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages, some from concerned friends, others from people who judged her outright. Each notification was another weight pressing down on her. Ryan, however, found a grim satisfaction in her suffering. He knew he wasn't done. Ashley's parents, who had been her greatest supporters throughout her life, now kept their distance. Her father's words from the night of the party echoed in her mind. You've ruined everything. How could you do this to your family? When Ashley tried to call her mother, the response was cold and detached. Mom, Ashley began, her voice trembling. Can we talk? I don't know what there is to talk about, Ashley, her mother replied. You brought this on yourself. I know I did, Ashley said, tears streaming down her face. But I'm trying to make it right. Her mother sighed. Maybe you should focus on fixing yourself first. The call ended, leaving Ashley feeling more alone than ever. Ryan's revenge expands. Ryan's anger had not yet run its course. While Ashley retreated into herself, he began taking further steps to dismantle the remnants of her life. Using the evidence he had compiled, Ryan anonymously leaked information to Ashley's workplace. The messages between her and Trevor painted a damning picture of unprofessional behavior, and it wasn't long before her manager called her in for a meeting. We've received some troubling reports, her manager said. sliding a printout of the messages across the desk. Ashley's heart sank as she read the texts, her hands shaking. "This is a personal matter," she stammered. "Your personal choices have impacted your professional reputation," her manager replied. "We can't have this kind of behavior reflecting on the company. I'm afraid we have to let you go." Ashley left the office in a daze, her career in ruins. The children's confusion. Mia and Ben, too young to understand the full extent of what was happening, began to sense the tension in their home. "Why is Mommy crying all the time?" Mia asked Ryan one evening. Ryan hesitated, unsure how much to reveal. "Mommy made some mistakes, sweetheart. She's sad because of what happened." "Did she hurt you?" Ben asked, his small voice filled with worry. Ryan sighed, kneeling down to their level. "Mommy and I are going through a tough time, but we both love you very much. That's never going to change." Ashley's plea for forgiveness. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Ashley approached Ryan in the living room. She stood silently for a moment, her arms wrapped around herself as though trying to hold herself together. "Ryan," she said softly, "can we talk?" Ryan didn't look up from his laptop. "What is there to talk about?" "I know you hate me," Ashley said, her voice trembling, "and I don't blame you. But I can't keep living like this. Please, tell me what I can do to make this right." Ryan closed his laptop and looked at her, his expression cold. "You want to make this right?" "Yes," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Then leave," Ryan said bluntly. "You've already destroyed everything. Staying here just makes it worse." Ashley's knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the couch, sobbing uncontrollably. "Please, Ryan, don't do this. I love you. I love our family." Ryan's voice was sharp. "You should have thought about that before you threw it all away." The breaking point. The next day, Ashley packed a bag and left. She didn't know where to go, but staying in the house felt unbearable. She checked into a small motel on the edge of town, the sterile room a reflection of how empty her life had become. Ryan, meanwhile, began divorce proceedings. Armed with the evidence of Ashley's infidelity, he was determined to secure full custody of Mia and Ben. His lawyer assured him, "With the evidence you've provided, you have a strong case. Infidelity won't automatically determine custody, but it will work in your favor." Ryan nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect my kids." Ashley hits rock bottom. Alone in the motel room, Ashley spiraled into despair. She tried reaching out to her friends, but most of them had distanced themselves after the scandal. One night, she stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the woman looking back at her. Her once bright eyes were now dull, her face pale and drawn. She thought about calling Ryan, about begging him one last time to forgive her. But deep down, she knew it was futile. Instead, she picked up her phone and dialed a therapist she had found online. "Hello," she said, her voice shaking. "I need help." Ryan's small victory. With Ashley out of the house, Ryan felt a sense of control he hadn't experienced in months. He focused on his children, ensuring they felt loved and secure despite the upheaval. But at night, when the house was quiet, the anger would creep back in. He replayed the moments of betrayal in his mind. The image of Ashley with Trevor burned into his memory. One evening, Marcus, his best friend, stopped by to check on him. "You look like hell," Marcus said, handing Ryan a beer. "Thanks," Ryan replied with a bitter laugh. Marcus leaned back on the couch. "How long are you going to let her control your emotions?" Ryan frowned. "What do you mean?" "You've already won," Marcus said. "She's out of the house, her reputation is ruined, and you've got the kids. What more do you need?" Ryan didn't have an answer. Reckoning and reflection. The days stretched into weeks, and the weight of Ryan's actions began to settle on him. Though his anger had driven him to destroy Ashley's life, the satisfaction he had once felt began to fade. The house, now devoid of Ashley's presence, was quieter than ever. Mia and Ben seemed to notice the shift, their laughter subdued and their questions more frequent. "Is Mommy ever coming home?" Mia asked one evening as Ryan tucked her into bed. Ryan hesitated, stroking her hair. "Mommy's living somewhere else right now, sweetheart. But she'll always love you, and she'll always be there for you." Mia nodded, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. Ashley's path to redemption. In her small motel room, Ashley began the painful process of rebuilding her life. Therapy became her anchor, a place where she could confront the choices that had led to her downfall. "I hurt the people I love the most," Ashley admitted during one session. "I don't know if I can ever forgive myself for that." Her therapist, Dr. Whitman, nodded thoughtfully. "Forgiveness isn't about excusing what you did, Ashley. It's about acknowledging your mistakes and using them as a foundation to grow." Encouraged by Dr. Whitman, Ashley began applying for jobs and volunteering at a local shelter. She also wrote letters to Mia and Ben, hoping to maintain a connection with them despite her limited visitation rights. Ryan's focus on revenge had left him little time to process his own emotions. Now, with Ashley out of the picture, he found himself grappling with an unexpected emptiness. During a session with his therapist, Ryan voiced his frustrations. "I thought ruining her life would make me feel better," he admitted. "But all it did was leave me feeling hollow." Dr. Harris nodded. "Anger is a powerful motivator, but it's not sustainable. You've spent so much energy on punishing Ashley that you haven't allowed yourself to heal." Ryan frowned. "How am I supposed to heal when every time I think about what she did, I get angry all over again?" "By focusing on what you can control, your future, your relationship with your kids, and your own happiness," Dr. Harris replied. One afternoon, Ryan received an email from Ashley, requesting a meeting to discuss their co-parenting arrangement. Though he was hesitant, Ryan agreed, if only for the sake of the children. They met at a neutral location, a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. Ashley arrived first, her appearance more subdued than Ryan remembered. Gone was the polished woman who had once hosted elaborate dinner parties. She looked tired, but there was a quiet determination in her eyes. "Thank you for agreeing to meet," Ashley said as Ryan sat down across from her. Ryan nodded curtly. "What do you want to talk about?" "The kids," Ashley said. "I know I've hurt you, and I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But Mia and Ben need both of us. I want to do whatever it takes to make this work for them." Ryan studied her for a long moment, searching for any sign of manipulation, but all he saw was sincerity. "I'll think about it," he said finally. A fragile peace. Over the next few months, Ryan and Ashley worked to establish a new normal for their family. Though their interactions remained formal, they began to communicate more effectively for the sake of the children. Mia and Ben seemed to sense the shift, their laughter slowly returning. One evening, as Ryan watched the kids play in the backyard, he felt a glimmer of something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Ashley's efforts to rebuild her life began to pay off. She secured a job at a non-profit organization, where her work at the shelter had impressed the hiring manager. For the first time since the fallout, Ashley felt a sense of purpose. She poured herself into her work, finding fulfillment in helping others rebuild their lives. Her relationship with Mia and Ben also began to improve. During their weekend visits, she focused on creating meaningful moments, taking them to the park or helping them with school projects. "Mommy, are you happy?" Ben asked one afternoon as they painted together. Ashley smiled faintly. "I'm getting there, buddy. I'm getting there." Ryan's turning point. As Ryan watched Ashley's progress from a distance, he began to reflect on his own journey. Though he couldn't erase the pain of her betrayal, he realized he didn't want to carry his anger forever. During a therapy session, Ryan shared his thoughts with Dr. Harris. "I think I'm ready to let go," Ryan said. "Not for her, but for me." Dr. Harris smiled. "That's a big step, Ryan. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight of the past." A new chapter for Ryan. One weekend, while Mia and Ben were with Ashley, Ryan found himself with a rare free afternoon. At Marcus's urging, he agreed to join a local hiking group. "I'm not really a group kind of guy," Ryan said as they ascended a wooded trail. "Maybe it's time to change that," Marcus replied. Ryan wasn't expecting much, but halfway through the hike, he struck up a conversation with a woman named Lauren. She was kind and easygoing, with a quiet confidence that intrigued him. By the end of the hike, they had exchanged numbers. For the first time in years, Ryan felt a spark of excitement, not a grand romance, but the possibility of connection. Ashley's work at the nonprofit became a cornerstone of her new life. Helping others rebuild their lives gave her a sense of purpose she hadn't felt in years. One day, she received a call from her manager. "Ashley, I wanted to let you know we've nominated you for the Community Impact Award," the manager said. Ashley was stunned. "I don't know what to say. Thank you." The nomination felt like validation, not just for her work, but for her effort to become someone her children could look up to. The children's perspective. Mia and Ben had adjusted to the changes in their family dynamic. Though they sometimes asked why things couldn't go back to the way they were, they seemed happier knowing both parents were focused on them. During one visit with Ashley, Mia asked, "Mommy, do you think you and Daddy will ever be friends?" Ashley hesitated. "I hope so, sweetheart. I think we're trying." An unexpected conversation. One evening, after dropping the kids off at Ryan's house, Ashley lingered in the driveway. "Ryan," she said hesitantly, "can we talk for a minute?" Ryan crossed his arms, his expression guarded. "What is it?" Ashley took a deep breath. "I wanted to thank you for letting me be a part of the kids' lives. I know I don't deserve your kindness, but it means everything to me." Ryan's expression softened slightly. "They're our kids, Ashley. No matter what happened between us, they deserve to have both parents in their lives." Ashley nodded, her eyes glistening. "I hope one day you'll find it in your heart to forgive me." Ryan was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Ashley, but I'm trying to let go of the anger. For me, and for the kids. That's all I can ask," Ashley said softly.